Well, we know what near-death experiences have done to Daniel Brinkley, one of our guests. In a moment, you'll be hearing from Kevin Montague. You'll hear about his two near-death experiences and what they've done for him as well. And his book is called The Master's Key to Unlocking and Mastering Chronic Disease and how that's affected him as well. So Kevin's next with us on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Noory with you. Our special guest, Kevin Montague, author, scholar, artisan, scientist. Kevin has had two near-death experiences, which truly opened his mind to how the world works, as well as the science behind various topics, including what causes cancer. His 20-year journey dealing with the chronic disease process led to this book, The Master's Key, taking science into the next 40 years to come. Kevin, welcome to the program. It's going to be good chatting with you on this.
Hello, George. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, and I hope you are too after two near-death experiences. My gosh.
Oh, those were the easy part of living life.
Well, what happened? Can you tell us?
Well, the first experience happened when I was 25 years old. I came home one night and lied down on my bed, and suddenly I had this really bad pain in my left side, and it got worse and worse. Now, I was living with a roommate in that time period to help cover the costs. I wasn't rich. You know, scholars aren't really very rich people.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but we love knowledge and we love truth, and we do everything we can to search it out. And so I finally couldn't get out of bed, so I picked up the phone next to me, and I called my roommate, and I told him I was in trouble, and he was at a party that night, and he said, I'll be there right away. And so he came and got me down to the car. He took me to my mother's location. She's passed away since that time, but you know, moms always know best, you know.
That's right.
So he took me there first, and she said, we got to put him in the hospital. So they all drove me over to Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital and put me in a room within all my pain. And these doctors came in. A few of them were ones that my mother knew at the time that she trusted. And they said, well, you know, what we're going to have to do is we don't know if it's your kidneys or it's your GI tract or something else. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to go in and look. So they asked me if I was open to doing a pyelogram. And at that time, I didn't have the knowledge I have now. And I said, what's that? You know. And so they told me. And I said, oh, that's fine. You know, I don't mind that. So the next day they prepared me for the exam.
You had to go the whole night in withering pain, huh?
Yeah. Well, no, they tried to give me stuff to ease the pain. It sort of took the edge. You know, the drugs sort of took the edge off of it. That, you know, it was only like a 50% decrease. So, yeah, I had to live through the night in the pain. And finally they came and got me in the morning. And they got me ready on a gurney and everything and took me into the operating room. And, George, I hadn't seen an operating room since I was a boy.
Right, exactly. You're only 25 years old, for crying out loud.
I know. I mean, I did have bad eyesight. I had 2 surgeries done on that, my tonsils removed, an appendectomy. So I did have some understanding of what an operating room was, but then it passed, you know, and I'd forgotten about it, you know. Now here I am going in again at age 25, and as they got me ready, one of the things I remember was they put this 3-inch needle into my hand, and ouch.
That hurts.
That really hurt. And given I was raised kind of Catholic Christian, and I was raised on understanding the Bible and all of that, I thought, gee, I wonder if that's how the nails felt going into Christ. I said to myself,
yeah, that's true.
That hurts. So they finished hooking me up to whatever it was they were hooking me up to. But right about then, I kind of said a prayer, a silent prayer, to our Lord in heaven. And I said, Jesus, I realize I'm not where I'm really supposed to be in my life. And I know something's gone terribly wrong. And because I knew from a boy I was an abused child. My mother beat me more often than I should have ever gotten beaten. But she didn't know I was a prodigy. They didn't have really any support for that back in the 1960s. It's different today.
It is dramatically different.
Dramatically different when you find kids like that. I was really more of an autistic child that grew up into a savant with the knowledge that I possess at this time in my life. So I was thinking of that and how I was withdrawn in my life and wasn't doing where I really wanted to be. And so I asked him, I said, can I see you when they put me under, and can I talk to you? Will you honor my request? And I left it at that. It was my simple prayer. So the nurses and the doctors came in, and they transferred me over to the operating table. And I was lying there looking at the big lights, they have over an operating.
Right into your face.
Right into my face, And I go, oh, God, that's bright. And right above my head is this young guy. I can see his face, or he's upside down, because he's standing over me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he looks at me and he says, we're going to inject you with sodium pentothal. And I said, yeah, I think I know what that is.
That's the truth serum, isn't it?
Yeah, well, many people think it's truth serum, yeah.
That's how I think of it.
It gets rid of all your inhibitions, so you'll say anything. But he said, we're going to bring you about, he takes his fingers like an inch apart from each other, and so we're going to bring you this close to death with sodium pentothal.
Jeez.
He said, that's what sodium pentothal does. And I said, well, okay, I wasn't scared or anything. I knew they were there. And I said my humble prayer. So he looks at me and he says, okay, I want you to count back from 100. And he says, I'll bet you won't make it till 90. So he said, okay. I started counting 199, 98, and kept going. And finally, when I finally reached, I think, 94 or 93, all of a sudden, the big lights over the operating room, George, just literally exploded into light all around me. I wasn't asleep, but I'd been transported into this place. There was nothing but light everywhere I looked.
Was it like an out-of-body experience?
Oh, I was totally out of my body.
Yeah.
I wasn't in my body anymore. Our bodies are nothing but machines. We interface with as spiritual beings.
Exactly.
Light. That's what I discovered when I was in the light. And I was kind of re-educated to the whole thing of what we know before we're born kind of thing. Is the best way I can explain my experience. So I was standing there in the light. I was at first a little bit disoriented, going, what happened? Where am I?
Sure.
It's kind of like, Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, where am I now? The house just crashed and I'm surrounded by all this light. And I turned around 180 degrees, and I realized I'm standing there. Everything is as real as you and I walking through this world. In fact, more real than what we experience here. So I turned around 180 degrees, and George, there behind me was this huge portal with kind of a fuzzy, misty edge around it. And I could look into space, what we call outer space. The light refers to as space. I'll explain that in a little bit. But I was seeing the Earth and the sun shining on it, and all you guys were there as I looked through the portal. And later on, a lot of this had a lot of significance to me. So anyway, I turned around back about another 90 degrees to my right and looked straight up into the light. And I could see that the light had distance in it. And I didn't understand that right away. Then all of a sudden, as I kept staring, all of this interchange was going on between me and the light as all the questions in my mind were being answered at rapid speed, incredibly rapid speed. And all of a sudden I looked into the light, and there was one verse from the Bible I remembered from the earth, and it was the one where Jesus said, when you do this to the least of my brethren, you do this to me. And George, all of a sudden I stood there and I went, oh, I should have seen it before when I was a boy. He is the whole thing. Even though he takes the persona form he does when he appears on the earth, the light is what Christians call the Holy Spirit of God, or the entire Spirit of God. But they don't understand what they're talking about, and they can't see the key verses in the Bible that tell them. I can see them now, having been there. And I just was going, oh, I get it. And George, all of a sudden, every single thing I had asked in life just came together in one big whoosh. And I was at peace. I went, I get it. I understand what this whole thing is about. Now, just as that happened, I brought my head down, and right in front of me, this circular opening appears in the light, made of kind of bluish silvery white light, actually a little bit darker. and it parts from the middle out. Best way I can explain it is like a drape. I don't know why it did that, but it did. And the one who steps out of it, who's all made of bluish, silvery white light, is the one that we call Jesus in this world.
Geez, what an epiphany you got.
No kidding. And by the way, when all of this is happening, the light is pouring knowledge into you. You know everything that's happening without any doubts, any questions as to what you're experiencing.
And are you dead at this time, at least for minutes or seconds?
No. Well, not that I was aware of, but I think they lost me temporarily on the table because something happened when I came under the galaxy.
Well, I think they lost you, and that's what separated your soul from your body.
Correct. I think they pretty much. I didn't ask directly, but one gal said to me when I came back, she said, "Mr. Montague is so glad to have you with us."
Wow.
And I thought to myself, well, what did they do, lose me? And I thought, oh, God, they did. You know.
So he maybe gave you too much of the sodium?
Well, I don't know. But it didn't matter to me because I was out of the whole thing. I was separate from my body. Whatever they were doing to my body, I couldn't feel a thing.
And probably could care less.
And I could care less.
Yeah.
Seriously. The other thing is this euphoria that you feel is like better than any drug you could take on planet Earth. But you have total clarity of mind, incredible clarity of mind, and you feel great. It's almost like this is the way we're supposed to feel all the time while walking on this planet, and we've cut ourselves off from it. That was one of the other things that came into my mind as I was feeling this peace and euphoria. And like I said, the opening happened, and then who stepped out of the light, made a bluish, silvery white light, was Jesus. But he was in this form so he could be offsetted by the light all around us so I could see him and understand him. And while he walked towards me, George, entire planets were blasting out of his torso and going into the universe, and there was like smoke, fire, lightning. I mean, the sound was deafening. And then old planets were coming into the light and going back into his torso. And I said, yes, sir, I get it. You are the whole thing. That's what you were trying to tell us when you were on the earth. So when we hurt each other, you feel it. Because you are everything, the bodies that we're in, everything around us. He is the entire creation. So he kind of gave me a smile, you know. But it was hard to make out the smile because his light, his face was this blazing ball of light.
Yeah.
And it was bright. I couldn't believe this was possible. It was brighter than the light we were in.
Well, did you sense it was him or you knew it was him?
I knew.
You did? Okay.
Without any doubt who I was in the presence of, and he knew that I knew. So he stands there with his arms folded, you know, down to where the waist is, folded in front of him, very casual, and the light's blazing off of his face, and he's scanning me, and I can feel the light going up and down my being. You know, at this point I have no physical body, I just have the spiritual body that takes the form of my physical body, and he's scanning me, and he stops right in the middle of my heart. He goes down to my feet, goes back up, and the light rays hit my heart. And all the pain and heartache that was in my heart, the light went right into my chest, grabbed the pain, and kept right on going. And all of a sudden
took it with it.
Yeah, it just took it all away. And I just felt, oh, that felt so good. You know?
At what point did they send you back?
What finally happened was he it's funny that you say they, because eventually all these other masters came out of the light to consult with him and to talk with him. Because every one of us that are here, we're helping them to learn on the other side. So the ones that are these other masters that are learning, they're under his lordship. And if they fail to do something with a particular soul, they have to answer directly to him. And he never is angry. Doesn't get angry or mad, but he gently corrects them and says, okay, here's what you did wrong, blah, blah, blah. And what happened is during one part of the interaction was all the light started to get a little bit darker, and that's when all these ascended masters, the best way to call them, came out of the light, and they were talking with them. And they had their little powwow. Meanwhile, they wouldn't let me hear what they were talking about because it's all telepathically done. You don't talk with your mouth. It's far faster and far greater in clarity, even when you're transmitting images to each other, to just use your mind to mind. But it's more than mind to mind. It's like mind inside of mind. It's empathic. It's not just intellect. It's also emotion. And while they were having their powwows, what I call it, I was talking with the light because I had nothing to do, you know. So I'm looking at the light, and the light is showing me two worlds like this world that I had lived on prior to this life, which were more advanced technologically.
Other physical planets?
Yes, other physical planets.
Okay.
The light remembers everything. So anything that you've experienced, it stores all that information. It never loses anything. So it was showing me here were other worlds that you lived on prior to coming here. This is how advanced you were on those worlds. This is why we needed you here on the earth, so forth. That's what the Master's Key is going to reveal when everybody reads it. And so while I'm having this little chat with the light, all of a sudden Jesus breaks out of his powwow with the other masters. He turns to me with this big smile on his face, and he waves his right arm towards me, and he says, "Come on home." That's the way he said it. Come on home. In other words, you don't have to go back and go for any more of that. And I said, okay. You know, I didn't quarrel with him.
And then in home meaning the physical?
To heaven.
To heaven. Oh, he was going to take you.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He was ready to take me, you know. Listen, George, I talk to him day and night. I've been doing it since I was a boy. So, you know, he hears it all from me. And I pray for everyone, too. And he hears all of our prayers, and I pray for all of you guys, even specific people.
And again, this is the first near-death experience.
This is just the first near-death experience. So he walks up to me, and he puts his right arm around my shoulder, which felt good, and he's walking, quietly with me, and a new opening opens up in the light leading into heaven, which looked gorgeous. And right when he's walking with me, all of a sudden something caught my attention. I turned up, looking over my right side, straight up into the light. And all of a sudden the light is showing me the lives of my brother, my mother, and my father. And it's showing me that they're teeter-tottering between heaven and hell. And it's also making it perfectly clear that hell is real, and so is Hades, what we call the Greek term for Hades.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked up into it, and I was very hurt and concerned. Suddenly, Jesus stops. He gets in front of me with he's like a foot away from me, and his head is this blazing ball of light. George, I could hardly keep my spiritual eyes open looking at him.
I believe it, yeah.
I was going, oh, man, turn the light down, you know. And he looks at me very seriously, and he says, what's troubling you? And I said, Lord, it's my noblemen. That's what I call them, my noblemen. My brother was Patrick, my mother was Patricia, my father was Patrick, and those names mean noble or noble man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a king to our Lord. I'm one of his lords and kings, and they were put together so I could appear on the earth and have the support I needed to do what I was sent here to do. So he looks at me and he says, what troubles you? And I told him. And he says, well, then you need to go back to be sure they're going to be all right. And I thought,
aha. Okay.
And I thought, I should have kept my mouth shut. You know?
You really would have stayed.
I would have stayed. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. I got to tell you right now, I can hardly wait to leave. Everybody is so interested in clinging on to their lives here, and I go, oh, no, this is crap next to what's waiting for all of us when we get to his realm.
Well, once you get back, I'm very curious if they diagnose what the pain was also.
Okay, I'll get to that in just a sec. So he says...
Hold on for a second. We're already at the break, Kevin. We'll come back and talk about this near-death experience. Then we've got to talk about the second one, and then we'll talk about how it has had this profound effect on you. And welcome back to Coast. George Noory with you, with Kevin Montague. His book is called The Master's Key to Unlocking and Mastering Chronic Disease. His website is linked up at coasttocoastam.com. So, Kevin, this entity, Jesus, basically says, go back, take care of your family.
Correct. And when he did that, when he said that you need to go back to be sure they'll be all right, that's when I got to see the tunnel that everyone talks about when they have these experiences coming on the way back. So I fell backwards into this tunnel. It was a beautiful experience. There's no fear, fear of falling or anything like that. And as I'm falling through the tunnel, He's fading away in the distance as I'm coming back into this place we call time and space that's located inside of his being. And he holds up his arms to each side with his palms facing me, and very sweetly and nicely says, "If you need me for any reason, I wait in earnest to hear from you and to eagerly help." Imagine that.
That's great.
People are praying all the time to him, and he's saying, "I want to help. I want to hear from you. I'm eager to help you." So I don't think that message was just for me. I think it's for everyone that's listening to me right now.
Right.
That
Exactly.
They know that he cares about everyone, and he's capable, more than capable, of handling every single one of us. So I fell back through the tunnel, and at lightning speed came back to the hospital and hovered over my body with my back facing. Well, actually, when I came down, I landed with a thud on the gurney. And that's interesting because I started to realize that everything's interdimensional. Everything that's in the physical also exists in that realm as well. It's interesting how the particles of light, the matrix of light, all interfaces like it does. And I go into that in the Master's Key. But I landed on the gurney, and then I thought, well, I'm not positioned right. So I literally levitated myself, lined my back up and my body up with the body on the gurney, and I lowered myself back into my body. And the first thing that greeted me was I opened my eyes, and I was blind. I couldn't see for about a good minute.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that kind of unnerved me.
Yeah. Me too.
And the next thing I know is I hear this loud buzzing noise in my ears, and as it happens, my eyes' vision digitizes from the outside in, and that interested me as a scientist. I thought, now, why did it do that? What is it about our eyesight that we don't know? But I've never been able to go all the way and explore that yet. I've had too many other things to explore. So anyway, that's when the nurse came up to me and said, "Mr. Montague, so glad you are with us." And that's when I said, "Oh, I must have left, or I must have fully left my body completely." And so when that finished, and they dismissed me, to answer your previous question about the pain in my side, we never did find out what that was.
But it went away.
It went away. And I've never understood that at all, except unless I thought, well, maybe he wanted to see me,
Well, it could be.
Maybe he orchestrated it, and maybe not. I don't know. But the pain slowly went away, and I went back on with my life. To go into the second death encounter, I'm going to skip a portion of my life.
And you were 25 at that point, the first
25.
one. Okay.
Right. This is happening in, August 19th of 1981.
Okay.
Okay. By the way, 4 weeks later, I got a visit. I was on the shore of Dockweiler Beach, which is just below Venice Beach, California. And I came there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I got a visit. And what I got to see would astound most of you. It's kind of like the thing the kids at Fatima would have described in terms of a supernatural miracle taking place. And I'll really quickly give you that.
Sure.
When I went down to the beach, I couldn't sleep that morning. I was staying at my mom's house for a while, so she and I could talk, and I just had to get away. So I went to this favorite spot I like to go to, where nobody's there, and I can pray and talk and whatever. Meditate, yeah, And I walked down. As I was walking towards the shoreline, I said a prayer out loud to our Heavenly Father, and I said, "Father, I know you can hear me." I said, "But I need to know there's somebody here on the earth who has faith in me. I know you have faith in me, and I have faith in you, but I need to know there's somebody here because I've been alone so much in my life, being the kind of person that I am, to being as smart as I am, and all the rest of it. I was a prodigy as a child, but they couldn't understand that." So as I walked onto the shoreline, George, all of a sudden, there's this fog, first of all, on the shoreline, kind of with the waves coming in through the fog. And all of a sudden, while I'm walking on the shore, this fog starts to spin at rapid speed all around me. It starts to go over me, and in front of me, it's going, whoosh, it's just doing this tunnel effect. And I'm looking in front of me, I turn around and look behind me, and I'm now in this tunnel of fog. And it's keeping about maybe a radius of about maybe 10 or 15 feet or so all around me. So I could see all around me to that degree, but then there's just this wall of fog everywhere. So, but I'm in a tunnel. And as this is happening, all of a sudden I hear a voice in my head that's not audible, but crystal clear, and it says, "Look down at your feet. There is a message written for you in the sand." And I went, "No." Like this, I didn't believe it. So I start to lower my eyes, and all of a sudden, one by one, my eyes are hitting these large letters in the sand. I had walked right in the middle of it, not knowing it, because I was too busy watching the fog do its little act in front of me. So, I mean, Hollywood would kill to have special effects like this. But this wasn't special effect. This was real. And I looked at it, and I said, "I can't see what it says." So I walked back towards the ocean water. And, George, I'm telling you, the water started, it would not come in and touch my feet. It would part around me and allow me to walk further back into where the shoreline was than where the water was breaking. And I thought that was interesting. And so I get a good look at this message, and it's read in capital letters. It said, "Your." Then there's a publisher's insert mark in it. Above that, it said the word "mother," and then it continues in capital letters saying, "Has faith in you." And I thought to myself, yeah, but my mother always beat me up as a kid.
Yeah, I don't think they were talking about that mother.
No, they were talking about her, because I talked to her later, and she said, "Sweetheart, I always had faith in you." I said, "What'd you beat me up for all the time?" So we had a good talk.
Did she beat you up, or just give you a little spanking once in a while?
No, she used to beat me up.
Oh, God, Kev.
Yeah, I was an abused child growing up, and she regretted that before she died. She used to live in Rockaway Beach.
She was probably beat as a child herself.
I figure. I've
I would think.
kind of sized that up even when I was in the light. So, but anyway, so I'm seeing this message saying, "Your," and the publisher's insert, "Mother has faith in you." Then I turn over to my left, and all of a sudden the fog has formed this wall that's got to be half a football field's length long. It's about several feet thick, made of fog, and it's going up about 2 or 3 stories. And it's just this big wall of fog, and I'm going, whoa. So I'm kind of investigating it. I put my hand into it. It breaks it up, and I pull my hand out, and it all reassembles itself. So I couldn't disturb the fog. Even if I did, it just would reassemble itself. So I'm thinking to myself, what's around this thing? So I go around it, and right there above the ocean was a hole in time and space with a set of stairs pouring out of it made of ocean water. And I couldn't see through the hole. It was up a little too far to see, but I kind of sensed it was almost like I was looking interdimensionally into something. This is quite real. I want you to know this is no imagination, nothing. This thing is real, but naturally, because of my scientific background, I was curious about it, because we talk about these things, but when do you ever get to see something like this? And I'm watching the whole thing, and all of a sudden, the hole starts to close. It starts to spiral slowly. Well, I understand. When God does something, it's usually very peaceful. I've learned that from him. It's not like Hollywood, or movies where everything's crash, bang, explosion. No. God's a very peaceful God when he does stuff. And so this hole is spiraling like the iris of a camera, not the eye, but like it had slits with the fog formation, like it was a camera closing. And I thought, now what was that all about, And then the steps, I turned around back behind me, and the big wall of fog had dissipated. And now all of a sudden, the whole entire fog cylinder that I was trapped in dissipates, and I'm looking at the message still in the sand saying, "Your mother has faith in you." Later on, that was going to be important, because I was going to write the Master's Key, and I realized what he was telling me with the insert mark. You're going to be a writer. You're going to be a publisher. This is what you're going to do. And when it happens, just accept it. So I have. I had other plans. I wanted to be in the motion picture industry doing producing and directing work, but my life went in a different path. So that's the whole thing. It's got 2 parts to it in the first death encounter. And it also was telling me I was going to be into writing. Mm-hmm. And then what started the second one that happened as I got close to age 44.
Okay, so 15 years later.
Right. Now we go into a jump here. Now, I got involved in a lot of other stuff in publishing. I had my own consulting business. I'd put a new board game out on the marketplace for the banks to use as a giveaway premium, and that's when Pictionary and Trivial Pursuit had come out.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And I was real close, George, to full success. I had full contacts with the big game companies. I had really done my homework and my legwork on this one. And I just needed to do one more thing. I was working with Ron Weingartner, who was the head of research and development at Parker Brothers on this. And the game was called the $1 Million Bank Game. It's the title I gave it. And they wanted the game. But the problem was the Trump game was in the way, and it didn't do so well. It only made $800,000, and they said my formula was superior to his financial game. So they wanted to get him out of the way.
This is way before the video games even popped up, right?
Exactly, right. And I had come up with an incredibly winning formula. And so I told Ron, I said, look, I'll find a way to get to Donald and talk to him about this. Just let me work on it. And right when I was getting ready, putting a plan together, I figured I would just go to one of his book signings and just walk up to him with the copy of the manufactured game and say, Donald, we have to talk. Your game is in the way, and Ron Weingartner wants mine. I'm sure he would have understood perfectly what I was saying because he had met all those people. So that was going to be my plan. I figured that's what I do, and then probably, we would meet in a hotel room, go have something to eat, and talk about the whole thing and work the deal out. But right when I was getting ready to do that, I walked into a local Vons Pavilion close to my home on Kester and Ventura Boulevard, and they've torn that down this year. It's no longer there because Vons has gone out of business. And I walked into the store, and unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, I bought contaminated sausage out of their meat section.
Geez. This is before recalls were recalls, right?
Yes, exactly. And I had so much on my mind with what was going on in my life, I didn't think that the sausage would be contaminated. I mean, why would you go?
Who would? Who would?
I was thinking, who would think that? So I said, I'm going to give myself a treat. Everything's going so well. I very seldom have sausage, which I love, but I'm going to treat myself to a little decadence here and have my sausage. And when I got the sausage home, I put it in the fridge for a little while and then pulled it back out. This was on the morning of December 16th. Let's see, that would be 1994. Yeah, 94.
Okay.
1994. And I boiled the sausage to death, fried it. I mean, I could have killed anything in that sausage.
Right. You should have.
I should have. Okay, so I took some of the sausage and I ate a full link, and my dad left me his beautiful golden retriever to look after, and I gave her some too.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, I see it coming now.
Yeah, and what happened was within about an hour or two, I was starting to break out with these ulcerated circles all over my body, and I was itching real bad. So I got on the phone and called my mother because I was a born asthmatic, and I figured she would know what to do. She said, well, just take 4 Benadryl, and if you want to, go to sleep, and maybe that'll clear it up. Well, I did. I took the 4 Benadryl and went to sleep, and I slept. I'd never done that before. I slept for like 12 hours. It's amazing I didn't die because when I woke up, my hands were bloated almost 3 times their size, full of fluid.
Oh, my God. And how was the dog?
I didn't check right away because my eye was swollen, and one of my eyes was swollen, closed shut. I was having trouble breathing. My feet were all swollen, and I thought, oh, God, I'm in trouble. So I ran next door to my neighbor, James Watson, and told him to drive me to Sherman Oaks Community Hospital, and he did because he saw what was going on.
That's right on Van Nuys, isn't it?
Right on Van Nuys Boulevard,
I know it. Yeah, I know where. I had to drop Tommy off, our producer, one day.
Well, I got a lot of doctor friends at this point in time as a result of this thing, and so they took it. He drove me over there. They called my physician, a regular physician. He came from his Christmas party. He took one look at me and said, "We have to hospitalize you. You're in serious trouble."
Oh, jeez.
And I said, "Yeah." They hoped they could have cleared it in the emergency room, but they couldn't do it. So they put me in ICU. And I didn't think I was going to make it, George. I was losing consciousness and energy so fast.
From the sausages?
From the sausage, yeah.
God.
And for some reason, something started to happen. I started to come around. And I got out of the gurney I was in, went to use the bathroom and stuff, and they thought I was going to be okay, so they put me into a regular ward and kept me there for 3 more days. and then released me. And they thought that was it. So did I. Unfortunately, 2 weeks later, I started passing blood out of my rear end.
That's not good.
No, not good at all. And I was throwing up. I was having all kinds of problems. So they put me back in the hospital again, different hospital, which I think was Valley Hospital, which is up on, it's further north of Sherman Oaks Hospital. And I got a gastroenterologist, and they were trying to figure out what in the world was going on with me. Now to make a long story short.
And had you told them about the sausage?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they knew about that.
And everything's documented in the medical records. I have all the medical records. Everything's documented to death because being who I am, I document everything. I collect everything.
Right.
A friend of mine Price Waterhouse used to call me a squirrel, because I keep all the paperwork that I do.
Hold on, Kevin. We're at the top of the hour. We're going to come back for more. Then we'll get into your book, The Master's Key, talk about how that was created. But we're coming up on your second near-death experience. And, of course, when we come back, you got to tell us what happened to the Golden Retriever as well. I'm George Noory, back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. With Kevin Montague. His book is called The Master's Key to Unlocking and Mastering Chronic Disease. We're going to get into his second near-death experience. And then all of this, of course, had a profound effect on him where he wrote this book. And we'll have him talk about that as well. And welcome back. George Noory with you. Kevin Montague with us. So, Kevin, you're released from the hospital after this sausage bout, but then it looks like it comes back or something.
Right. For the next 3 years, I went through complications like you wouldn't believe. About 45-plus major complications developed from this thing, and it was eluding the doctors.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, they didn't have any idea what was going on. I wound up having surgery on my knee, extensive rectal surgery, and they didn't understand what formed. These hemorrhoids were the size of walnuts that had formed, and they couldn't figure that out right away either. I had surgery done on my heart because I had what are called 2 SVTs, supraventricular tachycardias. The new radiofrequency ablation had just been perfected for my particular type of problem, so I didn't have to wear a pacemaker. And there's a whole bunch of other things that happened to my body until finally I found myself in my primary care physician's office, Dr. Nehemiah Peleg, and he came into the exam room that day. I still remember this day when he gently closed the door quietly, and he looked at me and he said, "Kevin, there's nothing more Western medicine can do for you. You're dying. We don't know what's killing you."
Oh, my God.
I suspect maybe on the average you got 6 months to live like a cancer patient would, but we can't figure this thing out. So he said he was going to cancel his bill because he didn't think it was fair to charge me since he couldn't help me. And I left that office scared, actually terrified, because I didn't know. It's not that I was afraid of death. It's just there were things I still wanted to do.
Sure.
I went down into my car and I prayed to our Lord and I said, "What's going on? What is this? What did you send me back for if you're going to put me through all of this?" And
that's a good question.
Yeah. So I drove home, and it just continued to get worse. Finally, I found myself on my living room floor one Sunday afternoon, and I was totally out of energy completely. I was going into a coma, and I knew it. And I couldn't get up. I had no strength in my body. and I started to slip into what seemed like a moment of darkness as I closed my eyes, and suddenly I hear this beautiful female voice say, "Rise up, your healing is waiting for you." And I opened my eyes real quick because I was trying to get up the strength to go to this healthy, it's a nutrition store, healthy, I think it's, what is it, Healthy Discounts, yeah. On Van Nuys
or a GNC or something like that.
Yeah, well, there was one I liked to go, which was the one on Van Nuys Boulevard. I knew them.
There's a great one on Ventura up that way, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to go look sometime. But back then, Healthy Discounts was there, so George, it took me an hour to finally find the strength to lift my body up.
Oh, my God, Kevin.
And I finally, I felt like I was outside of my body carrying it. That's how it felt to me, because I was totally disconnected from everything. I was so dead, literally. And so I got in my car and I drove down Van Nuys Boulevard, and I'm sitting there humming, going, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to my healing. And finally I got to the store. I walked in. Normally the store doesn't have anybody in it, but it had quite a few people. And I went over to the tinctures, so I wanted to check one of the herbal tinctures.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I hear the volume of every voice in the store is lowered, as though someone took a master volume knob and lowered every voice. And all I could hear was this man talking to this woman. And she was chewing him out, and he was trying to say, "Madam, look, I can help you. You've got parasites in your body. Just let me work with you." And she says, "I don't have parasites." She's like 55 years old, and she's immaculately dressed and everything else, and she just thought that was the most worst insult she could ever receive from somebody, but she was sick. But I gravitated towards this man because 2 weeks previous I was in the Tarzana ER. I had visited every hospital in the San Fernando.
Everybody knew you in these hospitals,
didn't they? They had records on me. And 2 weeks previous, I finally got a doctor because I had one of the complications I had were all these spasms behind my rib cage area that would never stop, and they drove me crazy. And they went on for like 2 years. And this doctor comes in and says, "It sounds like you've got coastal chondritis." I said, "What's that?" "Well, it happens when parasites get into body." All of a sudden, the word parasites rang a bell. I said, "My God, I haven't heard one doctor mention that in all the doctors that I've gone to." So when I heard this woman mention the word when it was Dr. Santee, I was going to say, when he mentioned the word parasites, I made the connection. I said, the doctor said 2 weeks ago, parasites, let me talk to this.
Yeah, and that's what you got from the sausage a couple of years before that.
Yeah, but we didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I get into one of the aisles there because you couldn't talk about this stuff as doctors. They go ballistic. They're so disconnected from so much in medicine. The whole medical system's disconnected. So anyway, man's name is Dr. Rick Santee. He's a naturopath doctor. In fact, he wrote a book I have on my website called Prostate Relief Now. This is a magnificent doctor. He travels all over the world helping people. He's in the Caribbean these days, getting people well. There's a reason why he's there, because of what happened to him here. But anyway,
licensing, no doubt, probably.
Yeah. Well, anyway, he says to me, he said, "You ever had a lifestyle blood exam done?" And I said, "No." I said, "I mean, know what it is, and I've studied microscopy. Since I was a kid, I used to have my own microscope." And he said, "I'll show you." And so we set up a time. I was wearing a Holter monitor because they were trying to radio control, watching my heart, waiting for something to happen from the spasms going on in my rib cage. But they couldn't find anything. So anyway, I get to meet with Mr. Santee, and I get to see what a live cell blood exam is. And George, when we looked at that blood exam, even though every single serum blood exam said I was fine, I was looking at my blood, and it was a disaster. All of my cells were chained together. They were anemic. There's a little guy called somatid inside the blood that doctors don't really talk about, and it was discovered by Gaston Nasons a while back. And that little guy is going into its pleomorphic cycles, which turns into spores, bacteria.
And you had them all over the place.
And these things were well active. And I revealed this in the Master's Key, these things are not supposed to happen until you're dead. It's a transformation of the body from its animal life.
You were like the Walking Dead.
Yeah, exactly. And people who are in this condition, who have CFS, fibromyalgia, and the rest, are among the walking dead, because this entire process, which I call the CDS-PD process, is active in their bodies while they're alive. And they're supposed to be a corpse when it's active, not alive. And it can go on for years, and eventually it fully develops into cancer. And I show this in the Master's Key. I have documented case studies showing people so they can see the proof for themselves. And the reasoning in the Master's Key is so tight with the science. It's going to get people well because they're going to read it and take control of their own health. But I also encourage them to work with their Western doctors because they're going to need some of the things that Western medicine can offer. But you also need all these other sciences, whether it's herbal, whether it's bioelectrical, whether it's nutritional, on and on goes the list. But you have to know how to work it integratively to totally redefine the biological terrain and save your life. Now, I didn't know all of that back then. I had always been studying everything in science, including medical.
And one quick question: was the dog okay from the episode?
No. Unfortunately, by the time I learned the knowledge I did, I had to put her down.
Okay.
She was covered in tumors. I learned volumes watching her. And she was covered in tumors, and I said, oh, my God, if I hadn't figured this out when I did, that would have been me.
That's right. That's
covered
exactly
in all those tumors. And the poor little thing could hardly walk. She was so brave, she'd hardly ever whimper. And when I finally took her to her vet, he said, that's it, she's 14 years old. He was amazed I got her to 14. And this is with all these tumors on her body.
But the sausage did her in.
Yeah. But I also put her on a program that was lengthening her life considerably. I just couldn't master the tumors because I hadn't learned that yet in all my research work. And now what I know is incredible. So anyway, I had to put her down, and I cried profusely because it was my dad's dog. And I held my father in my hands when he took his last breath, dying of liver cancer. So it was like another part of my dad dying when she died. So anyway, going back to let's see, spot check me. Where was I?
Well, you were out of the hospital. The doctor was talking to you about the Santee was talking to you about something holistic.
Gotcha. Yeah. So anyway, we did the live cell, and I got to see what was really going on with my body. I was basically decomposing while I was alive, but at a more rapid rate than most people do. And that's the best way to try to explain part of this process. But the other thing that's interesting about the process is that how the body has about 6 different ways it converts itself, the cells, into microplant life forms. And the reason why it does this is it's getting the body ready to grow in the soil. In other words, in the conservation of energy theory, and what I'd learned in the light, since the whole thing is God's energy, nothing is ever lost. So in order to conserve that energy on the earth, there's a series of algorithms, a programming language, by which the cells simply convert into a new life form that can survive in the soil. It's very logically done. And but you're not supposed to do it while you're alive. Because if you do...
It happens after you're dead.
Yeah, it happens after you're dead. But if it happens while you're alive, you wind up with new parasites in your system created by your body. See? And if doctors don't know to look for this, they'll treat you incorrectly, or they'll diagnose you as being insane or crazy or whatever, and that's just because they're lacking in knowledge. And the master's key is to help teach both doctors and patients all this knowledge so they can work with together and get the patients well. And I want the doctors to learn all of this because, like you said, this is like the next 40 years we're going to walk into, because I show how machines can be made that will get rid of cancer, say, in minutes, that'll shrink tumors in minutes, that will clear the body of everything, say, in an hour's time. And it's advanced physics next to the way this world thinks for the most part, and I'm just starting really to explore that, and I'm having breakthroughs this last year of how the technology can be done. I don't know if I'll complete it in this lifetime, but I'm writing it down as I go along with the hope that if I don't do it, someone else will get a hold of it and finish it for me. So,
unless you go the way of Tesla, they take his records and nobody ever knows what happened to them.
And that's why I never went to the FDA or the AMA with this knowledge. I'm fully aware of what's going on in the United States. You know, you make discoveries like this, you love the sciences. Well, you know, by the time, if you go that route, they'll just take the whole thing away and lock it up. And, you know, and then and threaten you. That's what they did with Dr. Santee. They had a person visit Dr. Santee that went to filed a complaint against the drug company saying that Dr. Santee wasn't using drugs to get people well. He was totally opposed to drugs. And when you read the Master's Key, you'll find out why in terms of the logic of how the whole thing works. So as a result, the sheriffs came in one day and pulled their guns on this gentle man.
Oh, my God.
I know, it freaked them out. And wrestled, put him on the ground, handcuffed him, took him in, and put him in jail. And George, all he was doing was getting people well. He never hurt anybody. I got to see the live cells of others, and they were fabulous to see. But you see these horrible adulterated bodies and blood samples, and all of a sudden they're clean, they're normal, and this is what this man was doing.
Jeez.
So I finally attended. I was in a lot of pain in my lower back because I had tumors that formed in my lower back. I finally shrank those using ozone injections. And I went down to the Van Nuys courtroom where he was to have his arraignment, and the FDA never showed up.
So they let him go, I guess.
Yeah, I get it. Well, you know what happened? They were afraid. He told me this. He said they were afraid if he got on that witness stand and revealed all he knew, they were out of business. And he revealed that to a federal judge, you know. The federal judge doesn't care about the FDA or the AA and make us nobody's above the law. That's the way they think. And so they never showed up. I was there to give testimony to tell what this man had done, and I brought evidence. And they never had. But what I did do, I already had about 123 pages written of the new book that became the Master's Key, and I handed a copy to Dr. Santee. And said,
was this based on his life, your book?
No.
Okay.
It's the book is pure science. It's everything I do is to explore. This is not my remedy for chronic disease. These are absolute laws and truths that I reveal in the Master's Key. He knew some of it, but he didn't know as much as I eventually learned as I explored this whole thing. In fact, at one point on the phone we were talking, he said, I kept asking him questions. He said, Kevin, I don't know the answer to that one. You're in virgin territory as far as I'm concerned. But keep up the good work because you're doing stuff nobody on the face of the earth has ever done. And you're getting answers that nobody has done. He said, stay in contact with me. I said, I will. When I have questions, I'll give you a call. So anyway, he continued negotiating with the FDA, and they told him basically to get out of the country because he was bad for business. That's why he's living over in the Caribbean these days.
Like that Hoxie case, that he's in Tijuana now or something.
Right, yeah. A lot of them are. Hulda Clark had to go to Mexico. Her book, The Cure for All Diseases, I have all of her books. Her books are fabulous, actually.
Is Santee still alive?
Yes, he is. And
okay.
I just got talking. I talk to him all the time. We were just exchanging emails yesterday and the day before, and he says he's decided to come out of hiding because he was talking to a very enlightened man who was talking to him, and he said his name is Rick Santee. He said, Rick, if you have this incredible knowledge, then you have to give it you have to go out to the world and bring it in. Otherwise, you're going to make yourself sick if you don't do what your divine purpose is for being on the earth. And that's what he told me in his recent email. So he says he's going to be working to help promote the Master's Key in his book, Prostate Relief Now. And he thinks my book is incredible when he read it. And I was getting, George, what I'm trying to say is, even though I suffered horribly through all of this, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, every time somebody reads the Master's Key, I get an email like you wouldn't believe, praising the holy heck out of the darn book.
Good for you. We're going to take calls with you at the half, but let's get into how I assume somewhere around this point, the second near-death experience occurred, right?
Right.
And did you see the same thing, the vision of Jesus? Did that happen again for you?
Well, I died in my bed and traveled to his heaven this time. And I'll explain a little more how that works in the light when we talk about it.
And, well, we've got a couple minutes before the break, actually.
Oh,
so,
we do?
yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Well, then I'll start it. What happened was, since I went into the 45-plus major complications, I was lying in my bed one afternoon, and it got so bad, all of a sudden I could feel death coming on.
Oh, God.
And death has its own unique feeling when it comes over your body. And I said, oh, this is it. And I looked at the clock. I can't remember, it was 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was somewhere around there. And I took a look at the clock, and slowly I closed my eyes, and it got dark for just a moment. Then I opened my eyes again. And I looked at the clock, and I said, I guess I'm not going to die. I feel fine. And all of a sudden I realized, George, I wasn't lined up with my body. I was in a different sort of position, and I was passing through my body. And I knelt up on the bed, because I told you everything's interdimensional, on my knees, looked down at my dead body, and right over my head above the baseboard of my bed was this huge portal, similar like the one I saw when I was in the light with the fuzzy edge around it, but it had like a pink color to the edge. And I knew to travel through it. So I leaped. I had no pain or anything. I felt great. So I felt fabulous, actually. So I went from this hellish pain state and jumped through the portal, traveled through space, and found the other portal that I had seen at age 25. And I traveled into that portal, and I went deeper into the light this time because I knew that the light had all these chambers in it, not just our universe, but all the different heavens from all the different planets. The number would be astronomical. I mean, like a Googleplex of heavens inside of the light, one for every planet that has sentient life on it.
Hold on, Kevin. Let's come back and pick that up from there, and then we'll take phone calls when we come right back on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Noory with Kevin Montague. Our final segment here as we talk about his book, The Master's Key to Unlocking and Mastering Chronic Disease. At what point, Kevin, after these two near-death experiences, did you have that epiphany to write the book?
A miracle happened that's connected to that. I was working on a chat board. Well, what happened was I was sitting at the computer, and I asked our Lord if he could show me people that were suffering from the same thing I was. Suddenly my computer screen glitched without me touching it, and I'm looking at this chat board called healthyawareness.com. So I started joining in on the conversations on there, and boy, was I learning a lot, because these people were going through similar to what I was going through, and their doctors had no answers. So I started teaching on that board, and I was getting people well. In fact, Kelly Rainmaster, who used to run that board, contacted me one day and said, "You're doing a marvelous job. I got people calling me all over the place telling me they're getting well because they're listening to what you're telling them what to do." I said, "Good, that's great. That's what I'm here for." So anyway, one day when I was on the chat board, I asked everyone if I should write a book. It seemed like there was so much to teach.
Sure.
And
natural.
Yeah, and I thought, how am I going to do this? And so I asked. I got 120 people say, "Yeah, write a book." And I didn't want to write a book. That's a lot of work to do what was being asked. So I bowed my head. I said a prayer to our Lord, and I said, I don't want to write a book. You already interrupted me when I was working on the $1 Million Bank game. I was inches close to becoming a multimillionaire, and you interrupted this by throwing this at me. I said, what about the money, Jesus? I'm not a rich man. How are we going to do all of this? So I gave him my complaints. And I usually kept TBN, Trinity Broadcasting, on in the background, just listening. If there was a program I really liked, I would just turn the volume up. Otherwise, I kept it low. And there was this black man talking to this very plump Mexican gal, sweet gal. And all of a sudden, when I finished that prayer to our Lord, which is more lengthy than I just gave you, she stops in the middle of their talk, and she says, "Wait a minute." She says, "There's a man who has just prayed asking our Lord whether or not he should write the book."
Jeez.
I know, and it happened instant. It was so timed. I said, "Whoa." And I said, all of a sudden she says, "Our Lord wants me to tell you, write the book, and he will take care of the marketing." Because I thought, I'm not a powerhouse. I'm not a corporation. And so I still was having problems with other parts of my body, so I stood up in the chair going off to bed, and I said, forget it, I'm going to go to bed. And as I stood up, I said, "Oh yeah, you're right, Lord. You'll take care of the marketing. What, posthumously after I'm dead?" You know, using my
that's right.
sense of humor on him, because given all that I had been through, I thought I'm never going to make it through all of this. George, I'm surprised I'm where I am right now, having conquered and mastered so much that I did.
And you sound healthy.
I sound good. I still have some trauma areas to my body. I'm going in for a biopsy on the 3rd of December. They want to check my back. 3 doctors are curious why there's the surrounding area where the herniated disc is in my back that happened through all of this is causing me pain. We're going to try to get to
all right. Well, we're going to put a little prayer in for you. Let's take some calls here, Kev, and then you can tell people how we can get your book. Amy in Oklahoma, welcome to the program. Hi, Amy.
Hi, George. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Amy.
It's good to speak with y'all. Hey, I heard you talk about a certain substance in the blood that you found. What was that called, and how do you spell it?
Oh, it's the Somatid, Somatid. There were other men.
Yeah, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fibromyalgia, CFS are connected with this, but there's a lot more. It's not just the Somatid, because even the cells will turn into microplant life forms called protids. This would be an education for those who have leukemia. When the somatid and the cells turn into their microplant life forms, that's what forms leukemia. All the red cells disappear, and all you got are all these microplant cells in the blood, and you can't transport oxygen or take out the toxins out of the body unless you got red cells, erythrocytes, doing the work for you.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's real simple to understand how it works. In fact, some of the people I've helped, their doctors were so confused because their blood looked like it was riddled with leukemia, and I got them well. And all of a sudden there's red blood cells there, and they're scratching their heads saying, you can't do this.
Do you use special devices like the Reich machine or anything like that?
No, I'll tell you, if you used nothing more than the Bob Beck blood electrifier and colloidal silver, and you did that for probably about a year, even if you didn't clear everything else in your body, meaning your filters, your liver, your kidneys, the cell membranes, everything, you would transform your blood from anemic looking to wholesome blood. It would clean the blood completely, and you don't need a blood transfusion to do it.
And I bet that would clean yourself up of a lot of issues.
Well, once the blood is fully functional, then it can start to minister to the body. You know, in Leviticus, was it 17:11, it says the life of the flesh is in the blood. Now, as a scientist and also a man who believes in our Lord, I took that to heart when I was doing this work, because as I was exploring everything in live cell microscopy, I said, God, this is really important. You've got to clean the blood first. You got to get that done, and then the blood can start to say to all the other cells, hey, I'm here to help. What do you need?
Next up, Diamond in New York. Welcome to the program. Hi, Diamond.
Good morning, George, and God bless you to your guests.
Thank
you.
I have 3 questions, and I know we don't have much time, so let me just fire away. When you were in the chat room and you were healing, all these people, 120 people, were getting healed by what you were teaching them. Why were you healed? That's 1. 2, I would love to know what Jesus actually looked like, because he put his arm around you, and I would love to know, since you spoke to him face-to-face, what he really looked like. And number 3, really, I still want to know why your mother beat you so. Because if you were a prodigy, or you said, like, you know, you had symptoms or an appearance of autism and she didn't understand or whatever, what was it that was causing her to hit you? So those are my 3 questions.
Okay.
And I love the show. It's very interesting. Thank you.
All right, we'll start with the first one. And why could you not at that point heal yourself?
Because I was to go through everything everyone goes through collectively. I mean, if you put all the people together, whether they've got just chronic fatigue or just have fibromyalgia, no, I got hit with it all to the point where it killed me. And the reason why God wanted me to experience that is so I would understand all of you and have compassion for you to do this work to reveal the knowledge that all of you have been hoping for. He heard the prayer, but he sends miracles into the world in the form of people like myself, and we come to help. That's what I was saying. I was going to say with those two other planets that I saw in the light, I was so advanced, I was assigned here for this specific hour to help our world because we're in crisis right now with all the diseases and cancers predicted to be, 1 out of 2 people by the year 2026. Now, the other question is, what did he look like? Well, when I was looking straight at him, all I could see was this blazing ball of light, and the light just sort of pulled you in, like it was a tunnel sucking you into his face. But the light rays were connected. They're connected to every one of us. It's like a giant neural network.
I mean, did he look like the pictures we've always seen him depicted as?
In this particular case, when he turned to his profile side, when he was talking to one of the other masters, I could see his hair was brown, okay? I could see his face. I'd have to say there's really no picture here that I can equate to that really they come close, but he has a unique look. And I'm not a very good artist when it comes to drawing stuff. All I can tell you is I recognize, in fact, when I was in heaven, I saw him even closer, and he had the beard and he had the hair and everything. And but I don't know if I could draw him. But his face is so incredibly beautiful, you can't take your eyes off of him. That's what I was trying to say when you're in the light. The third question was, why did my mother beat me? I always wondered why she did.
Uh-oh.
I was this little quiet boy.
Did your father ever try to intervene?
He never knew. Not
really?
Not until I was about age 10. And I remember talking to my dad one night before he did die, and he said, when I found out your mother was beating you, he said that was the first time I wanted to kill her. And he's not that kind of man. He's a gentle, kind man, but he was, the very fact that someone would touch a hair on my head, because I was like the fair-haired child.
Was there a time, Kevin, you didn't even want to come home from school or something?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
It was that
got
bad.
Worse and worse as I got older to age 10. Then they finally got divorced. She wanted the divorce.
At what point did she stop because you got too big?
Well, she stopped when the divorce happened. She originally got custody of me and my brother by lying to the judge, saying my dad was beating me. And I knew that was a lie. She was the one beating me, but they didn't bring me into court to testify. Finally, during one of my experiments in the apartment, I burned down our Christmas tree.
Oh.
And she had to transfer us over to my dad's care. And I think that was the smartest, wisest thing that possibly could have happened, because she lied to the judge anyway. And through some miracle, I burned outside of the apartment and got sent to my dad. And my brother did, too. And he was the best thing that both of us could have had. And I got away from the beatings that way.
Before we go to final calls, how do people get your book, The Master's Key?
Well, they can go to my website. It's called ksfmenterprises.com. That's my name. Kevin Frederick Francis Montague. Francis was my confirmation name in the Catholic Church.
Is that Scottish?
Montague is actually, it starts in Sweden, believe it or not.
Oh, does it? Really?
Montague.
Okay.
Swedish, Netherlands, they migrated down into England, got involved in the Battle of Hastings, and the English slapped the E on the end, and it became Montague. Then they came over here and caused trouble.
All right, and we got a link for your website as well. Let's go to Annie in Alabama. And Annie, before we get your question, you were on with me last week. You started coughing. We couldn't get you back. What happened?
Someone made an attempt on my life by treating the grapes in the supermarket with sulfite, which to everybody, except those that are not sensitive to it, is a deadly poison.
Oh, my God.
Unless you happen to not be sensitive to it.
We have environmental disease.
Calling about that again tonight for you, Kevin. It's in a lot of anesthesia. It's in medications, it's in anesthetics, it's in pills, it's in supplements, it's in food. It should be illegal. The people need to go to the electric chair because they've killed thousands of people with sulfite.
I understand.
Have you ever?
It's in processed meats too, I think.
Yeah. There's so much in our food, from benzene to toluene, and so many other things that are used to sanitize the containers and boxes of products. and we're getting it into our bodies when we buy these things. There's nothing on the face of the earth that isn't polluted. Nothing at all.
It's everywhere. Let's go to Jim, the big island of Hawaii. Hey, Jimmy, go ahead.
Hey, I'm really fascinated by your childhood. I had a really tough one, and it's leading to end-of-life issues wherein, I finally got thrown off the back porch and crushed everything in my cervical spine. Yeah, and it's leading to a lot of stuff that's serious. I mean, disc degeneration, ischemia, brain ischemia, a host of other stuff.
Yeah, that's all trauma to the body. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, and I'm getting massage and different things, and I'm meeting all these people that are being led into me, and it's as if God is just pouring out help and getting me through it. But I'm connected also with a lot of young men and women that are in deep trouble, and I feel that I'm helping a lot of people.
Good for you.
And I want to live longer for that, just for that purpose alone. And how can, for instance, the Master's Key help me to deal with these issues, extend life, and do God's work on earth?
Well, in the Master's Key, I reveal exams that have to be done by your Western medical doctor, but he won't know how to read the exams. I know how to read it. Dr. Santee does. Another man named Dr. Robert Young, who works in the Caribbean, knows how to read them, to see if the chronic disease process is active inside of your body. If there's trauma to the body, that's a different issue, because medicine's divided into congenital, chronic disease, and trauma issues. My focus and specialty is on the chronic disease process, non-congenital, non-environmental chronic disease. So if you have physical damage to your body, if surgery can be done, and that's questionable, if it'll give you better life, then Western medicine can help you. But if there's other issues going on inside of your body, given I can tell your voice is older, so because you're older, it's likely you have the process active right now in your body as well. And clearing all that up will help you a great deal. Try to deal with the other problems going on that are traumatically related.
And Kevin, Robert Young, is that the same Robert Young they went after?
Yes.
The PH Miracle guy.
Yeah,
Is he out now?
I think it's the same one. I'm trying to think back.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I think so.
It's got to be. All right, my friend. The clock has got us, Kevin, but you keep in touch with us, and good luck with the book, The Master's Key, okay?
Thank you.
That's Kevin Montague, and his website linked up at coasttocoastam.com. For Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Ladisor, Stephanie Smith, Chris Burrows, Tim Banal, George Knapp, and Ian Punnett, I'm George Noory, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone.
Bye.